She thought their fake engagement was just paperwork. But when she saw her fiancé at the altar with someone else, she realized the game was deadlier than she imagined. Maria Gonzalez stood in the cramped coffee shop, nervously fidgeting with her student visa documents. Across from her sat Marcus Richardson, a well-dressed businessman with kind eyes and a desperate expression. The arrangement seemed simple enough, a fake engagement for her green card, and in return she would help him appear settled and committed to his demanding family. "It's just paperwork," Marcus assured her, sliding a manila envelope across the table. 6 months, and we both get what we need. You get your permanent residency, and I get my family off my back about marriage. Maria examined the contract carefully. The terms were clear, the payment generous enough to cover her medical school tuition for 2 years. She had been struggling since her student visa was denied, working 3 jobs just to survive in New York City. This seemed like a miracle. "What about your family? Won't they expect us to act like a real couple?" she asked, her accent thick with nervousness. Marcus smiled reassuringly. "They live in California. We'll have dinner with them maybe twice a year. Just smile, hold my hand, and talk about our future together." Simple acting. Neither of them anticipated what would happen when the acting became real. The first few months went exactly as planned. Maria moved into David's spacious Manhattan apartment, taking the guest bedroom while maintaining the illusion for immigration purposes. They attended a few social events together, perfecting their story of how they met at a charity gala. Marcus was surprisingly easy to live with. He was considerate, intelligent, and genuinely interested in her dreams of becoming a doctor. Late evenings often found them sharing takeout Chinese food while she studied, and he worked on his laptop, their fake domestic life settling into comfortable routine. "You know," Maria said one evening, looking up from her anatomy textbook, "this is probably the most stable relationship I've ever had." Marcus laughed, but something flickered in his eyes. "Even though it's not real? Sometimes the best relationships start without expectations," she replied, not realizing how prophetic her words would prove to be. As weeks turned to months, the line between performance and reality began to blur. Marcus started bringing her coffee exactly how she liked it. Maria found herself cooking his favorite meals without being asked. Their staged photos for immigration started looking genuinely happy because they were. The night everything changed, they were practicing their story for an upcoming immigration interview. Marcus was coaching her on details about his childhood when she noticed him staring at her lips as she spoke. "Maria," he whispered, moving closer on the couch. "Marcus, this isn't part of the agreement," she breathed, but she didn't pull away. "I know," he said, and kissed her anyway. Their relationship shifted overnight from contractual to genuine. The guest bedroom remained unused as Maria spent her nights in David's arms, wondering how something that started as deception could feel so right. David was attentive, passionate, and seemed to genuinely care about her dreams and fears. They celebrated when she aced her MCAT exam. Marcus surprised her with a weekend trip to Martha's Vineyard when she got accepted to Columbia Medical School. For the first time since arriving in America, Maria felt like she belonged somewhere, with someone. "I love you," Marcus whispered one morning as sunlight streamed through their bedroom window. "I love you too," Maria replied, meaning every word. "This wasn't supposed to happen, was it?" "The best things never are," he said, but something in his voice sounded rehearsed, like a line he'd practiced. Their immigration interview went flawlessly. The officer was convinced by their genuine affection, the natural way they completed each other's sentences, the tiny details that only real couples would know. They walked out of the federal building hand in hand, Maria's green card application approved. "We did it," she laughed, spinning around on the courthouse steps. "Yes, we did," David agreed, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. That night, Marcus suggested they make their arrangement official with a real wedding. "Not just for immigration," he explained, "for us, because what we have is real now." Maria was overjoyed. Everything felt perfect, like a fairy tale where the fake princess really did get her prince. They set a date for 3 months later, just enough time to plan something beautiful but not so long that her green card status could be questioned. But fairy tales, Maria would soon learn, often hide darker truths. 2 weeks before their wedding, Maria decided to surprise Marcus at his office with lunch. She had just finished her final exams and wanted to celebrate with the man she now considered her real fiancé. The security guard at his building knew her by now and waved her through with a smile. She took the elevator to the 20th floor, her heart light with excitement about showing Marcus her exam results. But as she approached his office, she heard voices through the partially open door. "The wedding is just a formality at this point," Marcus was saying. "Once it's done, I'll have complete access to the trust fund." Maria thinks it's about love, but she's just the final piece of the puzzle. Maria froze in the hallway, her blood turning to ice. "And after you get the money?" asked an unfamiliar woman's voice. "After I get the money, I'll figure out how to handle the Maria situation. Maybe a convenient accident, maybe just disappear. She's illegal anyway. Who's going to look for her?" The woman laughed coldly. "You're terrible, Marcus, but brilliant. Using immigration fraud to cover up inheritance fraud? Your grandmother would roll over in her grave." "My grandmother was a sentimental fool," Marcus replied, "leaving everything to whoever I married, expecting me to find true love. Well, Maria served her purpose. She's given me everything I need." Everything made sense now. Marcus's wealthy background that he'd been vague about, his insistence on a quick wedding after their green card success, the way he'd encouraged her to cut ties with her few friends for security reasons. She had been played from the very beginning. Worse than that, she was now in danger. The morning of their wedding, Maria stood in the bridal suite of the luxury hotel, staring at herself in the mirror. The white dress that had seemed so perfect a week ago now felt like a costume for her own funeral. She had spent the past 2 weeks carefully planning her escape, but she needed to know the full truth first. She had hired a private investigator with the last of her savings. The report arrived that morning, and it was worse than she had imagined. Marcus wasn't just after inheritance money, he was already married. His real wife lived in California, and they had been running marriage scams across multiple states. Maria was just the latest victim in a long line of women who had disappeared after serving their purpose. The report included photos of Marcus's real wedding, pictures of his actual wife, and documentation of at least 3 other women who had married him for immigration purposes and subsequently vanished. The police had never connected the cases because the victims were all undocumented immigrants. Maria's hands trembled as she applied her lipstick. She had one chance to expose Marcus and escape with her life. She had already contacted the FBI Immigration Fraud Division and arranged for them to be at the wedding. But she needed Marcus to confess publicly, needed witnesses who couldn't be silenced. As she walked down the aisle, Maria saw Marcus waiting at the altar, handsome in his tuxedo and smiling that charming smile that had fooled her so completely. In the 3rd row, she spotted the woman from his office, his real wife, she now knew, attending her husband's fake wedding. The officiant began the ceremony, speaking about love and commitment while Maria thought about survival and justice. When it came time for vows, Marcus spoke beautifully about their future together, about the love that had grown from their arrangement. Then it was Maria's turn. "Marcus," she began, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "When we first met, you promised me that what we had would change my life forever. You were absolutely right." Marcus smiled, not recognizing the steel in her voice. "You taught me that love can grow in unexpected places," Maria continued. "But you also taught me that some people are capable of unspeakable deception." The smile began to fade from Marcus's face. "Ladies and gentlemen," Maria announced, turning to address the crowd, "I want you all to witness the truth about the man I was about to marry." Maria reached into her bouquet and pulled out the private investigator's report and a small recording device that had been hidden among the flowers. "Marcus Richardson is already married," she announced to the gasping crowd. "His real wife is sitting in the 3rd row. He has been running marriage scams for years, targeting immigrant women and making them disappear after he gets what he needs." Chaos erupted in the chapel. Marcus lunged toward Maria, but she had anticipated this. The FBI agents she had contacted were already moving in from the back of the room. "You stupid bitch," Marcus snarled, his charming mask finally slipping completely. "You have no idea what you've done." "I know exactly what I've done," Maria replied calmly. "I've saved my own life and probably the lives of other women you would have targeted." As the FBI agents handcuffed Marcus, his real wife tried to flee but was quickly apprehended. The recording device had captured Marcus's confession from 2 weeks earlier, and the private investigator's report provided evidence of multiple fraud cases across several states. Maria watched as the man she had thought she loved was led away in handcuffs. She felt no satisfaction, only exhaustion and a strange sense of relief. The fairy tale was over. but she was alive to write her own story. 6 months later, Maria sat in her first-year medical school classroom at Columbia, her legal permanent residency secured through the FBI's Witness Protection Program for immigration fraud victims. The case against Marcus and his wife had made national headlines, leading to the rescue of 2 other women who had been in hiding and the reopening of several missing persons cases. She had testified at Marcus's trial, watching him receive a 25-year sentence for fraud, conspiracy, and accessory to murder in the case of one previous victim whose body had been found. His wife received 15 years as an accomplice. Maria kept Marcus's last letter to her unopened on her desk, postmarked from federal prison. She had no interest in his apologies or explanations. Some chapters of life needed to be closed completely to make room for new ones. Her phone buzzed with a text from her study group, asking if she was ready for their anatomy exam. Maria smiled, gathering her books. She had learned the hardest lesson of all. Sometimes the most dangerous lies are the ones wrapped in truth, and sometimes the greatest love story is the one you write for yourself. As she walked across campus toward her future, Maria reflected on how her fake engagement had taught her something real. She was stronger than she had ever imagined, and she would never again let anyone else hold the pen to her life story. The game had been deadlier than she imagined, but she had won by refusing to keep playing by someone else's rules. What started as a desperate arrangement became a deadly deception. Sometimes the most dangerous person is the one who makes you feel safest. Maria thought she was playing a game for survival, but she discovered she was fighting for her life.